Kia ora folks, Cardboard Kiwi here. So just been doing a Let's Play of Hands of Fate. I had jumped in, but the audio and all the recording pretty much got screwed up, so had to start again. Now, the second time that I tried to record, the webcam and the audio completely screwed up, so I'm having to do the audio commentary recording after the fact. Now, I picked this up on the PlayStation Network. Oh, what did I get it for? About $28. It had been on special before, but I completely forgot to pick it up. Definitely a very, very fun game. Should have picked it up a long time ago. But, oh well. Not much I can do about that. So, let's just get into it. So the first level is not too hard. You're facing the Jack of Dust. Very basic level that you have to go through. But still, a ton of fun. So the first one, which if I can remember, I think was the Maiden. Yeah.
Fair Merith.
So it's a good way to get some supplies, some gold. I think you can pick up a blessing. Let's just see what are options that come up. I think later on, once you sort of get further into the game and you do actually have access to blessings and curses, there will be a fourth option, which will allow you to get a blessing from the Maiden. So in this instance, I just wanted some gold because I thought, hey, there's probably going to be a shop later on. Let's see what we can buy.
I'm sure you are grateful for that.
So yeah, you have your equipment cards, and I can't remember what that second stack is. The red one is the equipment cards on the bottom right, and then the dealer has monster cards, health damage cards, health healing cards, all that sort of stuff. So you're just drawing from there, depending on what happens in the game. So Mr. Lionel, yeah, pretty useful card to have in the deck, especially I think at these lower levels. Good way to get a shield, which is good because then you can start countering when you get into the melee combat. The melee combat, yeah, not the greatest melee combat in the world, but still a ton of fun. Has sort of like your basic counter that you would see, say, in Batman, the Arkham series. Not refined as much, but still same sort of principle. There'll be an icon saying, okay, now you can counter, and then that triggers the animation. You then counter-attack the enemy. But you can only do that if you have a shield equipped. So, yeah, Mr. Lionel,
You to get by without some protection.
the goblin disguised as a human, can give you a shield which allows you to reflect. Haven't really... Yeah, I've done it more for the counter. I haven't reflected too much projectiles, I think, as I've progressed. But
using your shield. Make good use of this skill if you wish.
But yeah, definitely need to use the reflect, because later on there was a few ranged enemies that were sort of chipping away at my health because I wasn't paying attention to reflecting the attacks.
Once more, seeking the heart of it all.
Now you could just go down to the next level, but I just wanted to see what all the cards were.
You show some aptitude for the game.
But you do have to be mindful of the food that you got. So every time you move, you reduce one food.
Every step
and there are cards, counters, which will take away from your food as well as counters that will let you gain. But from what I understand, if you reduce the food that you've got to 0, then you start losing health. Twisted Canyon, yeah. Good card to have to sort of progress on from your starting equipment, which is just like a basic axe. So a 1 in 4 chance that you'll fail.
Choose from these.
Failure just means that you get damaged. You still get a weapon. So success means take no damage, and then you can draw a weapon card. So, yeah, in that instance, the first card on the deck was a sword, so go and equip it. If, for example, it would have been like armor or anything else, like you'll just keep drawing from that equipment deck until you find the first weapon card.
That will make you much more effective.
So yeah, head down to the next level. Get a different layout. I believe with these sort of
You're on the final floor of our simple map.
scenarios, it does have a set layout, but there is a like
if you defeat me,
what's the word?
It is early to be talking about victories and losses. Let us see what you're
completely
made of.
blanking. But like a endless mode. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. That you can just keep going, and I think just cycles through different layouts. So, got our first encounter, Dead Man's Gorge. Draw one monster card. So in this instance, we've got 2 of dust. So the number in the corners will indicate how many enemies you'll face from that particular card, and then the deck being dust will tell you the type of enemy. So dust is just essentially the bandits. So I'm facing 2 bandits. More cards that you have
can now
drawn against
your
you
opponent's attacks.
will increase
Hit
the amount
the
of enemies
counter
that you have
button
to
when you
face.
see the flashing indicator.
So yeah, reasonably simple controls. Standard attack, then counter, so you see that green icon come up, just counter then, because I have the shield equipped. You are able to stun enemies, but I tend to just mash the buttons at this point in time, and then counter when I see a counter. There will be enemies later on that you can't block the attack, so you'd want to dodge out of the way for that. So, get 3 game cards, get a new piece of equipment.
Peasant's weapon, but effective
nonetheless. An axe, which I think is a bit better than the sword, so we'll change that over. Get a bit more food.
You're going to do?
So on this first level, you don't really seem to be running the risk of running out of food, but later on levels, yeah, you want to keep an eye on the food that you've got available and sort of think how you're going to progress through a level based on what food you do have. So another encounter, this time 3 of dust. So not every single encounter is just straight into it. There are, like this, you could charge in, run away, you could sneak up on them. So for example, if there was 2 cards of enemies and it gave me a chance to sneak and I was successful, I'd be able to reduce the amount of enemies I was facing by getting rid of one of those cards prior to the battle even starting. So loving the animations, how the cards come down and the equipment sort of drops onto you. I've heard a few people say the combat isn't the strongest point of the whole game, which I don't disagree with them, but it's definitely fun. Gives a nice little break to the sort of flow of the game, and it keeps things interesting. There are later on, like, say, like a trap scenario where rather than enemies, you're facing traps and you just sort of move through the level without getting killed. But yeah, definitely a fun game to play through. Enjoying the hell out of it. And I think I was initially intending only to do
one sort of magic
1 or 2.
All you need
so I've done
is a channel for power,
the
and
first
it's simple
row,
enough.
because I'm doing this audio after I've recorded my second video, and I think I will try and just go through the whole lot because I'm having that much fun with it. Like, yeah, I definitely want to keep going with this game and keep recording. So shops, like the encounter, sort of you get thrust into the like a little zone, but you don't have any control other than selecting like buy food or buy item. It's not like you can move around the area.
Now, the back and forth between resources and rewards.
So yeah, you have like these abilities that you can unlock through the cards. So that Damocles is, you send out 8 daggers, so it just would hit if you get surrounded, that would be a way to deal damage to quite a few enemies at once.
A classical approach to dealing with crowds. Artifacts provide powerful special abilities to use in combat, but it takes time to
each item has its own sort of look to it, so it's quite fun. You can sort of change the look of your character based on what cards you've managed to equip or find. There was one later on which I found which was like a deer antler head, which looked pretty cool when I equipped it. It had like an ice dagger and all this sort of stuff, so you can sort of mix it up. You don't have too much control over your customization because you've got to draw it from your deck, but the cards that you can unlock are pretty cool.
By a war that took all from him, wife and child, kith and kin. From such
so Jack of Dust, he's the final person for this level. Not too difficult. You would sort of expect that from the first encounter, but by doing this you can see in the bottom of his card there's that little symbol. By completing this encounter, then I'm going to get an unlock, and in this instance I'll get 3 tokens, so I'll be able to unlock 3 tokens which will give me a range of cards. You won't know exactly how many. The end encounters tend to give you the most cards, but say like that Dead Man's Gorge, if they had a icon saying you'd unlock, you might get maybe 2 or 3 cards from that. But it's a way to keep building up your deck.
Get out of the way or stop them with your own.
So that was the Damocles. I don't think I used it any other time in the battle over here. I was just seeing what it was like. I didn't really feel the needs to use it because, yeah, I was just mashing the buttons and just moving around the battlefield. So your main enemies have unblockable attacks as well, so you can't just stand there and counter. Because they'll just hit right through your defences. But yeah, I think in endless mode, like these boss cards would get reused as well, so it's not just one time that you'll face them. You'll come up against them again if you do the endless mode. And I think you can replay levels as well, but if you've got the endless mode, then I don't really see why you'd want to replay one of these levels.
Down into the worms with him. Perhaps there is peace for him in the grave.
So, now I get to unlock my tokens.
Yet we are only at the start of our road. You will face 11 more opponents who will test your strength, your memories, and your resolve. Few fall at the first hurdle.
So the cards that you see that have like a locked icon, you're not going to be able to remove them from a set encounter. You'll have to meet the requirements being, say, finish this level, and then once you finish that level, then it's no longer locked in and you can actually swap it out, which we'll do next when we face is it Jack of Skulls? So I think we get some new equipment as well. Yep. Bit of medium armor. Chains of Rage. Haven't tried that out yet. Mercenary Contracts. It's like the Damocles, like it's an artifact ability that you can draw upon during combat. And a couple more challenges. Oh yeah, that Maze of Traps is what I was talking about before, where it's not, you're not fighting against anyone, you're just sort of trying to make your way through, not get killed by the traps.
Ah, good. Now you understand the basics, we can begin in earnest. Your hero is returned to his beginning items. Our decks are reset. Welcome to the cabinet, home of the members of my corps.
So yeah, you're playing against the dealer. He has 12 12 that you got to face. The ones on the far right are sort of like artifacts that you'll get from the dealer, which will increase things like the amount of damage you can do, but also the amount of damage your certain enemies do. So we're going on to the next guy, which is the Jack of Skulls. So he's a captain of skeletons. So you won't only face skeletons in this level, there'll be instances where the bandits will show up again as well.
Time
But
for
we'll see
you to
that in
face
the
my
deck
undead
building.
army. Meet the Jack of Skulls.
So you could just go with the recommended the equipment and counter deck, but I like mucking around with this stuff myself, so we'll jump in. So yeah, all those ones with the locks on the top you can't remove, but say like that winding trail you can remove from the deck and insert a new card, because other than just doing the encounter over and over and over again, you're not really going to get anything out of it. But say by putting that local peasant in, if you complete that successfully, you'll be able to get an unlock and get new cards from it, and just keep building out your deck. So that Desperate Measures weapon that you see at the top, it's a pretty useful mace to have. So the more damage that you've had done to you, the more damage you're able to do back to the enemy. And it's reasonably powerful when you compare it to the other weapons that you start off with. So while it seems like a good idea to have better and better armor, there will be some encounters where you won't be able to do certain things because you're wearing too heavy an armor. Like there was this one where I was crossing a river, I think in the next video, and because I had medium armor I couldn't swim down to the bottom to see what was down there, so I couldn't complete that scenario based on the fact that I was wearing the medium armor. Okay, so I think we get into the actual level now.
I will add my own cards to the deck. How boring life would be.
So there's always a few. So he'll chuck in a few things like a couple of shops, he'll chuck in more enemies in it, maybe a couple of encounters that will sort of deal damage to you, remove some supplies and things like that.
Play for life and death. Prepare yourself. That first moment, that glinting weapon, the call to action, to adventure. Truly, there is nothing.
So yeah, nice card to start off with. So it gets you a better weapon, even if you do fail. So you're going to have different levels of success. So you're going to have high success, then failure, then high failure. So I think if for instance there was like a high failure, that might have reduced my max health as well, rather than just reducing some of the health. So yeah, as you move, and as long as you've got food, you'll increase the amount you'll heal back. 5 per step. I think there is ways to increase that with items and abilities and things like that.
I see you have
so
no such
new card, it's got a unlock associated with it. So we'll definitely want to try and succeed at this one. So yeah, it's always good to hear when there's a token involved, because it means more cards, more unlocks. And what do? We've got to face 4 skeletons, and I think he's given me a mace to use. Yep, there's a mace. So it's good because it has the holy ability, so the undead take more damage from the mace. Okay. So yeah, it does sometimes take quite a bit of, well, not quite a bit, but a little bit of time to load into the brawling encounters. But it's not too bad, really. And I suppose you could skip if you wanted to, but I like the seeing the cards come down, so... See, when I was first playing I was just like, why don't I have the counter icon? Completely forgot I hadn't even unlocked a shield yet. So these enemies have shields equipped and they're staying in a block, but you can bust through the shields. So making use of the roll ability, and I believe if you start building up your counter chain, well, your combo chain, then you start doing more and more damage to the enemies. But I'm not sure if I'm 100% correct about that one. So he's telling me that there's probably going to be a lot more skeletons they'll have to face, so it's probably a good idea to keep the mace equipped, even if I was to find another weapon. So, Mr. Lionel.
I'm starting to wonder if you're simply leaving this card in as a quick way to get your hands on a shield.
Oh yeah, definitely. Mr. Lionel is very useful for getting a shield, especially early on in the level. So, if you just ask him what he needs, then it leads to him giving you just a standard shield.
A strong left arm is as important
useful,
as a strong right arm,
especially giving you the counter ability and the ability to block projectiles.
Head downwards if you dare.
Okay, make sure I cut that part out.
Many have reached this far. Further, in fact. I do not know if you have what it takes to do better than they did.
So, the maze of traps.
Traps, and the hope of treasure. It's all I could ask for, and more. Win this.
So I get to unlock some more cards if I manage to make it through the maze. So, yeah. Jump at the chance to get more cards. So now this one doesn't seem to be overly difficult, just
the arena itself will fight.
A moving trap, then a fire trap, which is just on the timer. Floor sensitive spikes, and then a couple of crushing devices. So it's just a matter of being patient and just timing your movement. And it's just a arrow trap that's pressure sensitive. So if the game was just this, like, I don't think it would really be that good, but the fact that it's this plus the story progression through the cards, like the little stories that get told that way, like, it all ties together in such a great bundle. But, yeah, if it was just a brawling or like that by itself, then I don't think the game would be as good. So, what equipment do we manage to pick up? Healing cap, so yeah,
we simply
you
avoided
can get
being
double healing.
wounded. Healing will suffice, however.
So yeah, this dealer's always got a few snarky comments to throw your way.
Given how rarely one encounters the folk, you are fortunate indeed to meet Merith again. Or perhaps we are merely cycling around the wheel and dipping into the same memories time and time again.
So yeah, Meredith, good way to pick up more supplies or more gold. So I didn't know how much further
one of my cards.
there was to go on this level, so I thought it was probably a
I
good
will
idea to
not be
pick up
so
more
graceful
food.
for long. You can always review your cards here.
So yeah, it doesn't allow you the ability to go back to your basic gear, but for example, if you've drawn a couple of weapon cards, you can switch between them. So I don't know if I don't think the shop just pulls from the deck that you have unlocked. I think you can buy cards that you haven't unlocked, I think. I'm not 100% sure about that one. So I don't know why initially had the card face down. Like, I don't know if it's just simply loading the graphics still, so it just shows the back of the cards, or if it was a new card that I hadn't quite got the description for, and then by seeing it in the store I now know its description. So when I go back to building the deck, I can now see, okay, this card is useful because it does these abilities.
A shield for the marathon, not the sprint. Interesting choice.
So I wasn't sure how much more levels I'd have to go through, so I thought probably safer to just pick up a bit of food now that I had some money to spend.
Deeper towards our foe.
So I think I have seen in other videos that I think some of the other levels have like
I know
a different,
you will not tell me, like all the rest.
like exit level card,
silent.
like you jump on a wagon or you exit this forest. So the little touches like that are definitely make for a better experience.
A challenge for you, and a token.
The goblins are a bit of a pain in the ass. They steal some of your stuff, and then you gotta kill them before they get away, or otherwise you lose access to. So, like if they take some of your food, if you don't kill them, then you've lost that food for good. But I think if you do kill them, then you get the food back plus a bit more. So, he's stolen my shield, and I think the other guy has stolen my money and my food. So yeah, they're just, all they do is just run away. So I think we'll see at some point that they'll blow their horn to sort of summon an exit portal. or do I manage to take... yeah. Oh, there we go. So I think if you manage to get to the exit portal, then your stuff is gone for good. So another token for the pile.
I'm sure it's not called Dead Man's Gorge without reason.
So at the moment, the enemies you're facing are like the lowest level. As you progress through the different encounters, so the different bosses, they'll get powered up. So I think once you unlock all the level 1 cards, then all the enemies get a slight boost to their damage and also defense abilities, as well as getting a few maybe like special abilities, just to sort of keep testing you. Not that the initial starting off ones are that difficult, really.
I'm sure you're grateful for that.
Not as good as the mace that I've got, so that will just sit in your inventory. So if you wanted, you could go in there and change it later on. You don't have to change it when you get the card unlocked. So there was a slight problem with the audio and video recording for the last part of this level, so I've had to cut that out and just jump straight to the final battle against the Jack of Skulls. So he's got some buddies with him, a couple of, well, 4 skeletons. But yeah, there was just a few other encounters that we sort of went through, got a few more unlocks and things like that. But unfortunately the recording was a bit screwed up, so rather than leaving it in, I thought it would be best to just cut it out.
Are you agile enough?
So it's nice little touches, like just a little bit of destructible environment. They didn't have to put things like that in there, but it's a nice touch that they did. So one of his abilities that you see now is he starts to revive the enemies you've already taken down. But I think I managed to take him out before he brings them back up. So you wander over to the card and that's the level done. So if you hadn't gone to all the cards on that particular level, once you defeat the final boss, then that part of the game is over. I think you could go back and replay it, but yeah.
Dead in their dusty tombs, and even I cannot say what will come of it. Now our wager becomes more interesting. Will the tools you've earned suffice to address the challenges I pose? That is the question, is it not?
So from the Captain of the Guards I get, I think it's 2 maces. Yep. So from the Maze of Traps I get Scavenger's Cap, which I don't think I've used yet, so I don't know what that does. It probably increases the amount of gold or something that you could get from an enemy. So out of these cards, I think I've only used Frostfang, and that's in the next video, and it actually has the ability to spray out frost and freeze the enemies in place, which is definitely very useful.
Shall we deal again?
Cool. Oh, well, thank you for joining me. This is Cardboard Kiwi, and I'll catch you guys later.